Well, we are doing a whole type of show today. I have two new guests that we're going to be talking about movies with, and my guests can name their names if they want to, or if they want to go by a nickname, that's totally up to them. So welcome both of you. I don't know which one of you wants to start, but you tell me what you want me to call you as we go through here, whether it's your real name or otherwise. Welcome.
Thank you, Lady Liberty. This is Mac, coming live from Atlanta, Georgia.
Welcome.
And this is Jason. Hello. I'm based in South America, obviously in Sao Paulo, and we're here together, of course, in the studio. But Mac was always there. The funny humor. It's the studio Atlanta. It's our little reference to our colleagues in US. So basically, we are based in South America, Sao Paulo, and that's concrete jungle.
Here I am, Billings, Montana, so we're in totally different worlds. So I watched, I don't know about you guys recently, but in the last 3 days I watched 3 movies. The first one was V-for-Vendetta, then I rewatched Boondock Saints for about the 100th time, but boy did I miss a lot the first time. And then I watched the TruMan-Show last night, and since that's just the most recent one, we decided to talk a little bit about that. So I'll start and then we'll just go in order of how we introduced ourselves. I didn't take a lot of notes on this because it's a pretty straightforward film, I feel like. But one of the notes is specifically the quote, "Nothing here is fake, it's merely controlled." Do you remember that? Right, so who said that was his friend. You see the interviews in the beginning, his friend is the one that says that, like the football buddy. And I'm thinking that's a big message to us, that nothing here is fake, it's merely controlled. Well, I don't know that nothing's fake in the real world, but you guys agree with me probably to some extent about the earth being flat. And why don't what do you guys want to say about that regarding this movie, that it seemed to portray that kind of truth?
Basically, this is funny because yesterday we had a meeting with our, if you like, local chapter. We have this little thing going on we call Truth Think Tank, and we met with the guys here in South America. Little appetizer speech on flat Earth. They're all half awake, and they start to realize that things work a bit different. They watched the TruMan-Show movie because they also understood that what I'm talking about to them all the time is going in that direction, that we live in a kind of a reality show, in a fake world, in an enclosed system, a scripted reality show, whatever you want to call it. But they don't get over the globe yet. So I asked Meg yesterday to give a little speech to them. That flat Earth makes a lot of sense. We had also even a pilot there. One of our group members, a professional airline pilot, and he kind of admitted, that obviously he's flying, over a plane, because one of the major rules as far as aviation is concerned is always keep it straight and level over a horizon, horizontal, period. So once you're cruising altitude, you keep it level. So anyways, that was Mac's role yesterday, and he was really successful. The guys were impressed, and they are thinking now. Of course, they're still on the globe, defending their model. But whatever, it is. What you said is right. This movie is all about flat Earth. I mean, this is really less for me. Flat Earth is a simple fact. Period. It's actually too basic to talk too much about it. But what is much more interesting is that we live in an enclosed system, and that is what the movie is showing, right? Truman is born in an enclosed, supervised system, and in a way that's true for all of us. Now we have the creator create a place for us, and where we are kind of the actors, and we being tested whether being worthy to go back to the source, to the creator, or where the other direction is heading, the broad way. And I think this is very much represented as far as I'm concerned. Maybe Mac wants to comment on that one, on flat Earth, the more your topic here.
Yes, please, Mac.
Yeah, so that movie is definitely about flat Earth being controlled, the enclosed system, and then all the barriers of what could be a controlled system, which is Say you want to try to exit, where do you have to go? You need to go to the seas. Everything gets more dangerous as you try to exit, so the water gets, more, what's the right word for that? Larger waves, maybe colder
Tumultuous.
water, tumultuous, and then say you try to get past that. If we compare that to the AE map, once you make it past the water, where do you get to the snow? Can you there's just another barrier there, another dangerous barrier. You have to make it through the negative 100 Fahrenheit degree temperatures possibly. The body doesn't work. If you have some sort of vehicle, you're going to have gasoline issues, fuel issues, possibly electrical issues. It seems like if we really don't know what the world looks like other than that it's flat, but it seems like if we did try to exit the AE map, there would be some pretty tough barriers. But in this movie, it was pretty simple. He just had to get through the water, get to this little wall, simply open a door and walk out. But I doubt it could be that simple. But I guess that door, maybe we could compare that door to possible portals in the Enoch kind of system. If you want to mention the portals at all, Jason.
Oh, perfect. And do you remember that scene, Aaron, when Truman is trying to fly to Fiji's, no? And
Yeah,
goes
he
to
gets
this.
on the bus and he tries to get a ticket, can't get one, so he gets on the bus, they break the bus down.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know how, I have some American friends, as you know, like you guys, for instance, and I see that Americans don't like to travel so much. It's really interesting. It's also, I think, very typical. We Germans love to travel. We are world travelers. We're crazy. Before COVID, the Germans, we went nuts. Yeah, we traveled all over the place. We lived all over the place. But the Americans more conservative as far as travel. For instance, to Brazil. For instance, my best friend in upstate New York, he doesn't want to come to Brazil because it's too risky. But it's a bit true. That it's really that they play with this fear of travel. Stay in your zone. Stay at home. Don't meet with other people. Be a controllable little slave. That is basically what they want. Anyways,
I'd like to respond to that. I think you're absolutely right, because when I told you that I don't like to fly, and you gave me Psalm 91, which I really love that you did that. That's a traveler's psalm part of it, some of it, and I was thinking about that because I went camping, just to get real vulnerable here. I went camping and I didn't want to be out there. I wanted to just get home, and I knew it. I'm like, this is programming. This is programming that I used to love going outdoors. I camped all the time. I'd hike. Oh, that's a new trail. Let's go down it. Like, no fear. And now all of a sudden I'm like, ooh, let's just stay in a nice little camping spot. And I don't want to go out hiking too much. And now I just want to get home. And then I get home and then I'm like, oh, thinking about flying and doing all these things. Especially now, it's even worse for 9/11. It got bad, but it's even worse now with this COVID stuff because they're going to make you wear masks, and I don't want to wear a mask, and it just puts me on high levels of stress and anxiety to even think about flying. And anyway, I'm working on that. So I don't allow these things to actually control my life. I still get out and do things and go places, but it's created more of that with COVID and everything. It's created more of that in me, and I know that's programming, because look at all these movies that want you to be scared of the woods, scared of the dark. How many cabin movies, horror movies, and they're always in remote places. I mean, you could say, well, they're not always. They're sometimes in the city, but there's more often than not a lot of horror movies or scary movies or thrillers where all of a sudden the person's in trouble when they're out in the middle of nowhere, when they're getting away from society. They're safe when they get back to town. And we're all on higher alert with this because what they've done to us with the Patriot Act and with 9/11 and now with COVID and making everybody wear masks on board.
To hit that subject, so I just traveled out here to South America, and what the United Airlines and the domestic airlines are saying is you are forced to wear a mask And if you have medical issues or you're a senior citizen, etc., please join us after the COVID issues. And we don't want your business. We don't just don't fly with us. And then, but myself, I wore in the airport. I wear the mask underneath my nose, basically like this, so I can breathe. And then on the plane, most of the time I had it underneath my mouth so I could breathe. And sometimes if somebody looked at me, I might move it up here, or and I only had one flight attendant say anything to me, which was a Brazilian flight attendant, told me to put it up here. And then in in a American airport, one employee within the airport kind of told me to move it, but I didn't. I just walked by her and didn't do anything. But most people on the planes were extremely scared. Everyone was full mask the entire time. People were scared to drink water and just remove their mask to drink water. Or if they did, they would quickly totally, everyone's totally freaked out on the planes. But yeah.
Well, I'm gonna have to get over that because it's gonna happen one of these days where I did get the passports. We went and spent an hour at the post office getting passports for myself and my girls, and so we're on that path of getting these things done. And so again, I won't let it stop me, but it stinks. I was gonna mention this, that if you remember in the very beginning of the show, it's literally only 3.5 minutes in, or 3 minutes and 45 seconds, a light falls from the sky. Did you guys catch the name? Because don't worry, I did if you didn't.
Sirius or Sirius, no? The brightest star in the firmament. This is this is so apparent reference to the firmament. Give me a break. So I mean, this is really not just about the idea of enclosed system, having a firmament above your head. Whatever it looks like. That I'm a different view on the square Earth and the round heavens, but whatever the case might be. It is always a firmament, according to scripture. That is a direct reference to that brightest star on the firmament. It's a light. It has a lot of meaning. One meaning is, okay, reference to firmament. The second meaning is, deeper meaning, it's a light. The star is a light, period.
I guess I could have a few different. I guess we could just brainstorm that. Even say we ignore this whole serious thing, we could, sometimes light bulbs are considered a thought, or an idea. So it could kind of be that there's probably multiple symbolisms in the movie, but maybe an idea falling, symbolizing that he's maybe, a new idea for him, with the light bulb going off in his head. At the same time, maybe, we have that phrase of, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So maybe, also another saying, he wouldn't know blah, 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 unless it kicked him in the butt, or even if it kicked him in the ass, he wouldn't know what was happening. So maybe we could say this idea of an enclosed system, it would have to hit you right on the head to kind of wake you up. What else could we say? Or it could be, maybe a flat Earth awakening of the star. Maybe the star doesn't exist. Maybe the star is a lie. What else do you think, Jason?
Well, I'm going to respond real quick, and then sorry, I'll go back. What I think is could also be a downplay of what the stars really are. And interestingly, you guys probably already know this, but for anybody who would be listening wouldn't know, that Sirius is the brightest star and it did say Sirius Canis Major. It said that whole thing. Canis Major being the constellation that it's in, which is the greater dog constellation, which is interesting that multiple different peoples, cultures are around the world, just like the Sumerian mythology being similar to like the Native American, I can't remember who, I should remember that, but anyway, they have like the same mythology stories, the same creation stories and all these things, but in all over the world, in different cultures, they all know it as the constellation as a wolf or a dog. The ancient Chaldea in present day Iraq knew it as the dog star that leads. In China, it was said to be the dog of the sun. North American indigenous tribes talked of it in canine terms as well. The dog that follows mountain sheep. Cherokee also called it the dog star guardian. And then a tribe in Nebraska called it the wolf star. So you've got cultures all over the world all calling it the same type of constellation. I don't think that these constellations look that much like animals that they would all come up with the same thing, or do they?
An excellent point. As you said, Sirius, it basically is referred to all over the world as a dog star, and it is really interesting, yeah. But because if you look in Scripture, you see clearly that the Father gave specific names to all those stars, and I'm 100% sure. I don't know their names, but I'm not so sure about one thing: the names that have been presented to us are wrong. Let's take the wanderers, the wandering stars. Yeah, you think they're called Jupiter, Saturn, and all that. Give me a break. This is all false idol and gods, little g worshipping. Yeah. So you need to be very careful. I even don't spell out the names anymore. Same dog star. Huh? It is not the name of the star. All has been modified, and presented in a different way to us. That's why it's something I'm really looking for, is to find out the real names of the stars. I looked into Enoch a bit, I like a lot the true Enoch. There's also a lot of bullshit on the market, yeah, as far as extra biblical accounts are concerned. But the Enoch one, the Ethiopian, so-called Ethiopian Enoch, is giving a lot of detail, and he gives you at least some indications on some of the names, true names that the Father gave to those stars. And those names have meaning, and we don't have that meaning anymore because we call them completely probably nonsense. Well, I want to add on that, Mac?
These nonsensical names of the stars? Sorry, I wasn't paying too much attention.
That's a good thing I can edit that part out. It's good to stay honest.
No. We had a long night last night, so it was we had a bit of a tough. We had the first flat Earth discussion, and then the guys were obviously a bit shocked, to hear that a pilot could not beat Mac on the debate. The pilot could not give any argument other than gravitation theory. I believe in it. Yeah, bullshit. But give me one specific practical implication of gravitational force that you as a pilot need to consider and take account for. And he came up with nothing. And then after we drank a lot because they needed definitely a little digest of that shock. Yeah. So take us. We're a bit not in the best shape today. So.
You don't have to be on your best game because this is a pretty simple film. It's interesting at this part, if you can see my screen, I believe, Truman
Right.
and Marlon are talking about life, and he's talking about where Fiji is on the ball. What an ironic statement in this movie to have him pointing at a ball to describe where Fiji is compared to where he thinks he is, to this guy while the whole movie is kind of displaying a flat Earth scenario. If anyone wants to comment on that.
No, but this is definitely that's full. It's interesting. As I said, there's a lot of flat Earth symbolism, obviously, with the dome that they have created, for this show. But however, they show all the time when they show the dome. Just that scene, for instance, just to add on the globe things, So they show the dome, then they fly out of the dome. They show LA. It's next to the Hollywood sign. They fly out of United States. They fly out into space. They show a satellite, and they give you all that programming from outer space, So just to make sure, guys, it's just a show. The flat Earth thing, it's just a show. Here, the reality is still a universe. And we know otherwise, but we know that the reality is a show, an enclosed system made up for us. But maybe that's a video topic for Mac. Yeah, you want to add on this? Pay attention.
I wonder if Fiji is one of those places where when you try to take a direct flight from northern to southern hemisphere, and they say it's a direct flight, but there's really one stop for refueling. I wonder if Fiji is somewhere there, but maybe there's some sort of significance of Fiji in the movie. So for some reason, I kind of recall that it could be a refueling stop. feel like Mark may have talked about that at one point. But there has to be something to Fiji. Or
Yeah,
maybe
why else would we
something
pay for
about the
that?
word Fiji. Yeah, maybe the word Fiji has some sort of significance. I don't know.
Well, being true to Hollywood's nature, they couldn't get away with without doing some MK Ultra stuff. So they allegedly kill his dad off, right, as a young boy, and it's his fault because he wants to go out further, and his dad says, "I don't like the look of the storm," and then the next thing you know, dad dies. Anyone want to add on that?
Yep. Yeah. So then, yeah. So same thing with this fear, the fear porn. My dad died in the ocean, therefore I will always be scared of the ocean. Therefore, I will never travel over the ocean. Therefore, I will never make it out of the system. Just like with you talking about going camping, say you have like scary movies about camping or bear attacks in the forest. So therefore, be scared of camping. Don't go out into nature. Don't experience nature. Don't experience God's nature and God's beautiful creations. Don't go out with their family and God's beautiful creations. Don't thank God for these, His beautiful forest. Just stay home scared and don't go anywhere. But the MK side, it's also, they were basically doing MK on him as a baby. Not really, but indirectly. So that maybe they're kind of mocking us that they do perform MK Ultra on many children and continue it as they grow up. And then we could jump into V-for-Vendetta maybe on that MK side.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you want to, is there anything else you guys really wanted to say about this movie first, or we could jump into that?
One thing, because you touched on, Aaron, you touched on the Fiji. I was just looking up on the map where it exactly is because I've never been there. And it's literally, I mean, you know that I think of the world a bit differently. I agree to Mac that it's a plain period. Yeah.
Right.
But I see in scripture very clear, it's four corners, four ends. And according to the map, I think we lost Aaron, right?
No, I'm here. My headphones they travel. My kids were yelling at me.
Aaron, we men, especially when we with the still hanging over, yeah. We cannot multitask.
Oh, well, I have to. So.
You make us crazy if you run around all the time.
Well, I'm sorry. Just focus. Just don't look at the screen then, or whatever. Just keep going on your thought track.
Okay, I just keep talking. Anyway,
I'm still here.
The Fiji Islands are on what I call the east end of this world. You got the idea? I mean, TruMan-Show obviously was on the west end,
right?
The west end of the world,
the opposite side of the world.
Los Angeles, that's the west end, and Fiji is on the east end. So really, it's really on the opposite side of the square flat Earth map, according to Ethiopian Enoch with the portals. And now it becomes interesting. According to the Ethiopian Enoch, we have portals right on the east end, on the west end, and I give you an indication. We call it Pacific, right? And we call Pac-Man, right? Now play with the words, Pacific, Pacific, So you have the Pac-Man there. So I think it's mockery about the east end, and basically that they are portals. I mean, this is the only explanation I come up with because again, otherwise scripture doesn't make sense. So it's four ends, four portals each end, and on the east end there is basically the dividing. Because if you run out of one side, you come out on the other side. You got the idea? Pac-Man, the Pac-Man idea. You go on one side out in the Pacific, you come out you go on the east end out, you come out on the west end, or vice versa. So that is my best explanation why they gave so much significance. Why I always mentioned I want to go to Fiji Island, and I always mentioned this. It's all about flat Earth. For me, it's all close to the real map model.
And I will say one more thing before we change the subject on this show. At the end or whatever, when he comes on, the creator, he calls himself the creator. Did you catch that? He says, I'm the creator of the show. And I was thinking the stairs at the end would be like his ascension. If we're going to look at the Luciferian Hermetic alchemy side of things, there's a stairway to get out to the end. So the creator speaks to him with a loud booming voice and then he's got stairs that he's got to ascend to get to his next level, which is a very Luciferian duality thing, where they ascend and they always use the stairs, and like the Masons, they always use the stairs and the ladder and everything.
That's an excellent point. That's really like this, huh?
That's really actually it.
Thinking it is really always this pyramidic thing, you know, to climb up the stairs of the pyramid to the top, you know, which in my, by the way, I don't know what you see on the top, yeah, or everybody says the top is Satan, you know,
That's right.
That's what we think. I think on the top is our ego, but that's a completely different discussion. We can keep it for another show. I think our ego is on the top of the pyramid. But no, that is a different discussion. What I want to say is, they make you believe you need to climb up the stairs, right? 33 degrees of Freemasonry. Then you go to Illuminati. Then Then there are 90 degrees. Some say there's even 360 degrees to climb until you come to the really top of this thing, right? That is what the mystery school was, you know, all this bullshit, you know? And that's exactly this idea of walking up the stairs, you know, the walking stairs to be illuminated into freedom, initiated into this. And what is behind the scenes, you know, what is behind the dome, you know, what is then you're gonna be initiated to know the truth, you know. There's all this, as I said, it's also very bullshit.
Yeah.
Mac, wanna add on this?
Yeah, same thing. So we have you know, like it could be the mockery saying that Satan's the creator, you know. Yeah, mockery everywhere. They could be saying Satan's the creator. I mean, or you know, God's up there. Go ahead.
I was just saying, because you say mockery of the creator, and I think there's one thing that the creator tries to, the show creator tries to convince Truman not to make that step out, right, of the box, huh? The moment, and then says, "I watched you since you were a little kid, you know, and I saw you growing up like a papa, no? Like a father. He wants to play the father, right? He wants to play the big father, right? I am your father, huh? That idea, huh? Again. Huh? And this idea of being watched since childhood is a double meaning, right? It's one time the reference to the Luciferian control system that we're gonna be pushed into, a control state, 100% surveillance. Here, cell phones being, of course, obviously a surveillance instrument, all the shipping that will come, all this idea of that Lucifer is listening in all our conversations nowadays, all we're doing right now, he will listen. At the same time, our big guy, the real creator, he is also listening and watching us since childhood. There's always a double play, yeah? But as I said, probably this reference is more on the Luciferian side of it. Yeah.
I also found it interesting that they were all in the moon, because that's also kind of a witchcraft symbolism. But again, we don't. A lot of people watching, they already know the symbolism and everything like that. We're just finding it. We're just seeing it, that they're pointing to it.
We decoded. I mean, you, of course, Aaron, are much more advanced in a lot of things here. But we decoded so many things. But for me, the moon remains a mystery. I look at the moon almost every day in the night, clear night skies, you know, and I really cannot figure out what all this, you know, this strange structures there that you can see, this forms and shapes, what it means, you know, why would the creator exactly create it this way, and what is, and to be honest, the moon is probably a mystery. It's a big mystery. I don't get it. Yeah. That's even the theory, just to tie it to flat Earth and maybe to close it also, that even the theory now, the AE flat earthers, within them there is a section now that believes, or believes in my view, that the moon is basically a mirror image of the whole Earth, and the AE map is one crater. So basically, we've been fooled that we live in a much bigger place, you know, and our little thing that they give to us is just a little thing that we see in a mirror image in the moon, you know. So basically, we see a little crater, that's us, and then basically they hide from us the whole show. There's some indications. Apparently, Walt Disney gave some clues on this, yeah, that there's something outside of our place, yeah. Anyways, I just want to add this, yeah. So basically, the moon remains for me a puzzle. I think they always show this, that they hide something in the moon. People think that is something behind the moon. They're hiding something there. This is probably the idea why they put the surveillance studio into the moon. Yeah.
I forget, was that, in the movie, was the moon a flat disc or is it a ball? That the
They make
crater
it
and all
shaped.
the rings-
It's shaped like a half. It's shaped like a dome
Oh,
again.
it's like
See, they're
half,
in.
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
See,
and so
see
how
that?
many sections are in the United Nations section? Yeah, is that just like the UN
It might
map
be like
again
I
right
mean
there?
I can
Yeah.
try to click on this. This thing is. Oh, hold on. Jump to scene. Play. I don't see that. There.
So it's like 1, 2, 3 times maybe 6 or 8, 24. Yeah, probably, maybe not 33 there, but maybe it's another, mockery of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, probably not 33, but yeah,
Ah,
could
it
be a
should be
little,
though. 33. That'd be perfect.
yeah.
Well, it's
Never
only half of it.
mind.
See, it's only half. It's not the full thing. No, that's still only be like 6, 9, 12.
Yeah,
It'd only be 24.
yeah, something like that.
Good thought.
But they're showing us 3 sections. Maybe that's a little joke right there. 3 sections of the pie.
It was probably something to, yeah, the lines and everything. It might have, I don't know. It could have something to do with our ley lines or something like that too, although they don't exactly fall like that.
Yeah, okay.
Moving on.
Well, I think that's basically what you can say about TruMan-Show. I mean, as I said in the pre-show, our alignment here, it's a boring movie.
It is.
I need to watch it again because it was a really while ago, but it's bloody boring, really. I mean, seriously. Well, let's go to the next.
I may not be able to click through this the same way because I don't have it available to watch right now.
So you guys thought that movie was really boring, and when I saw that as a kid, my mom took me and she was like, "Do you want to see this movie or some other movie?" And I chose Truman Show. And at the end of the movie, she was like, "This movie was so boring, Mac. This was so boring." She was kind of bitter at me for watching it, but I learned a lot. Maybe that's why I'm more awake and she's not.
It was not, I watched it once before, once, but I don't know. Trivia is always fun to look at on some of these things, but I have it on V-for-Vendetta now. Sometimes the trivia is fun. Sometimes it's just really, especially since they're not looking at it like us. Okay,
I mean, that
V-for-Vendetta.
movie is interesting
Go ahead.
because, Aaron, that movie is really interesting because it is, as far as I understand the storyline, it is placed in 2020, which is our time now, and it has the reference to remember the 5th of November, correct? And the way I see that,
Yeah, it goes, let me just say it. Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. I see no reason why gunpowder treason should ever be forgot.
perfect. And for me, the way I start to see things, that I made a show on decode the belief system. So the way I see things now is in code. Yeah, I start to read the code. So what I see, if I get the date, 5th of November, in your writing, you have November 11. It's an 11. You have the 5 for the 5th. You have 2 times the 2, which is 2020, which is a 4. Make a 5 plus a 4, it's a 9. So you have 11 for November, and you have a 9 after that. So you have a 9/11 code again. Got the idea? And that's serious business. Normally, a date with a 9/11 code means something. Got the idea? So probably, I don't know if it's going to be a physical representation or manifestation on this plane, but something is going to happen. I'm pretty sure. It's predicted, for me, it's predicted programming. I don't know. I would like to hear your view on this.
Well, just to give anyone a history lesson, that this was about Guy Fawkes' intent to blow up the king and the parliament and overthrow the government. So this guy wears a Guy Fawkes mask. This gentleman wears a Guy Fawkes mask, was now become the anonymous hacker kind of symbol too. But I think a lot of people don't remember this. They don't remember the 5th of November, and it has been forgot. And certainly like 9/11, it's called memory hold, like 1984. And one thing this character V says is people shouldn't be afraid of their government. Government should be afraid of their people. And I think that the government is afraid of their people, or they would try to control us nearly so much as they do. But as far as what the plot of this movie is, there's been a virus that we find out was let out by the government. The U.S. went to war, and because of the U.S. going to war, the U.K. goes on this severe lockdown, literally, where you can't go out at night. You'll get arrested for going out at night, and you know, it's very similar to what we see going on in some ways. It's still a little bit ahead because unless we go to war in the next few months, and this kind of thing be seen. But it's kind of like, wow, I think I'd rather be at war than getting this lockdown type of scenario in the UK.
Yeah.
What's interesting is there's only one guy that stands up to do anything, kind of like Guy Fawkes, kind of like Boondock Saints. Where are our vigilantes during this time?
Yeah, I'm looking at the dates right now. So last election day last year was November 5th. This year is November 3rd. But it's funny. I mean, this idea never came up much last year, but it could mean anything. This year could be 9/11 day. It could be, an assassination on the 5th. It could be more lockdown. It could, if it's more about the movie coding, maybe there's a bigger lockdown on the 5th. A huge fake, spike. I think of the name Guy Fawkes. Faux also means fake. F-A-U-X means fake. So, symbolism that, numerology that something fake will happen on the 5th.
The 9/11 was quite calm. I did a show on that day, and I think there was one fire in Beirut or something, but nothing big happened. Yeah, it was more of a spell casting. But people are, I mean, in the truther scene, they expect 19 something to happen. You know that our friend Benz, he is always pushing for something to happen in September. So we are almost done with September. So we're still waiting for that.
Right.
We're waiting still for the big blow on September. I think nothing happened, but maybe 19. Let's see. Tomorrow could happen a physical manifestation on the plane, and then basically in November, I mean, you have the election day, like Max said rightly. A lot of people expect something to happen with Trump. You're pressed. That's something. Well, I don't know. He will be fake. Maybe not even die, but pass out or something live on show, and FEMA taking over, something like that. I think in this direction, in these lines. I don't know, Aaron, if you agree to this. Yeah. By the way, I call you Aaron. If you don't want me to call you Aaron, I cut it off.
I use my real name.
Everybody, you're a famous person, right? So it is. That's.
I always use my real name. Fine.
No, but what's your guess? I mean, you always get. I know you, like me. You don't take these prophetic dreams that all the time come so serious anymore, because there was too much stuff, and most of this never happened. Yeah. What's your latest take on that one, maybe, Aaron?
Well, that's funny because Benz and we diplomatically argued about that last night live. And I said these guys are clowns. These are the same dreams that they have every single year, and the same dates, and the same thing is going to happen. And you can go back, and BDA from the Omega Frequency did a good job of doing this, where he went back and he showed different people over the years saying these things. And then when they don't happen, it's like people just kind of brush over it, like, yeah, next year maybe. And so you look at people like what's the guy that Kim Clement? So many things he said were going to happen didn't happen. If you look at Jonathan Kleck, many things he said were going to happen didn't happen, and yet these people continue to prophesy. Or not Ken Clement anymore, he's passed, but Dana Coverstone is continuing to prophesy when things he said have not happened that he said were going to happen. That in August. Oh, well, maybe it's going to happen in September. Oh no, now it's November. And these people that they're going off of scripture that talks about dreamers, that we're going to be men seeing visions, dreams, in the scriptures. But the problem with that is that Dana Coverstone, for example, is saying that he is not a prophet, but his dreams they're prophetic. That's dangerous, what he's doing. To say, I don't want to, and he's like, I don't want to do this. And I know that there's some prophets that have been scared, but the Lord puts back in them the faith and the understanding and the bravery and the ability, the courage to go out and do what they need to do. Like the whole Jezebel thing. So this guy, Dana, is like, oh, I really don't want to, pretending he's all humble while he's getting a lot of likes, a lot of views, probably a lot of patrons. And now he has hired somebody to decipher his dreams. Why does he need somebody to decipher his own dreams if they're prophetic? And he should be the prophet, understanding what the dreams are about. Not only does she decipher his dreams, she uses Wikipedia pages.
Yeah.
It's a mess. It's a disgusting mess, and he should be repenting. He should be ashamed of himself. So these are predictive programming of things that they want, but that doesn't mean they're going to get what they want. That doesn't mean this is going to happen because they made a movie of it.
Yep.
It doesn't mean 1984 is going to happen or Brave New World. The reason they say that is because these science fiction authors and writers and creators, they're all part of the same system. I have a book that talks all about it, and I'll recommend it to you guys. But it's called The Ascendancy of the Scientific Dictatorship, and it talks about all sorts of things. Specifically, one is what the role of science fiction authors have, and that is to get you used to these ideas and do the predictive programming. But that doesn't mean they're going to get what they want. And they had they were such visionaries. How did they know? They didn't know it's what they want to happen.
Yeah. Like you said, the more we get used to it, the more when they really unveil it out there in the public, then we're just easier to accept it. But on weekend or something each weekend, we can try to.
But what we can say about Vendetta, the date, the predictive program has been set. Your perfect prophetic dreams, you set everything. And then on the show here on Vendetta, what we can say, there's a lot of symbolism, right? And we use the MK Ultra. Let's talk about the MK Ultra part, because there Meg has also lot to say. Maybe you can talk about this. What do you think, Aaron?
So the MK Ultra stuff is specifically, she believes she gets arrested by police at some point in this film when so basically she's doing things she's not supposed to do. So she's in trouble with the government. They've got strict rules, and she gets caught, but she thinks is the police, and she's terrified, just mortified. You can tell it, like she's shaking, she's crying. In fact, she's a very good actress, because I felt terrified with them. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you could feel her terror, you could feel her uncertainty of the future and what's going to happen. And once she gets her head shaved, which is very symbolic, they shaved heads as a form of humiliation of women all the time. You'll see like Demi Moore when she did lots of head shaving, and that's always a form of humiliation on these people. Let me go to my notes. Then she gets put in a jail cell, and she's terrified for a long, long time. She's shaking all the time. She's got no bed. It's cold. There's a rat. The food is so bad the rat doesn't even want to eat the food that she's getting. And they say, well, if you just talk, we'll let you out of here. You'll be free to go. And so it is this continuous, basically torture by putting her in a cell by herself. And she happens to find hope in these little letters that were written by a previous person in that cell that actually was in that cell, and he must have taken over where all the virus victims were being, what do you call it? I can't think of they were being tested on and what have you. And this girl had been writing these little letters on toilet paper, and so that she's reading them out long after that person has died. That's her hope of getting out. And when she finally gets out, it turns out who's had her the whole time but the guy V, who's supposed to be a protector, who's supposed to be fighting the system, who's supposed to be going against just the very people that did this in the first place to other people. I mean, she didn't get a virus. They put them in these cells, and they did tests on them, and they treated them like animals, and they didn't even care about these people, he was one of those people that was in a cell. And why would he turn around and do it? Because that's the cycle of abuse. So he turns around and does it to her, and he says, well, didn't I fix your fear? You're no longer in fear, because it's true. After a while, she didn't have any more fear. How absolutely disgusting that is. I was disgusted with the character that you're supposed to like and cheer for. And I will remind you guys, if you didn't know, that the guy that's in power was called right-wing religious man, or a conservative religious man. They're trying to blame it and say that this is right-wing ideals that's going to cause this, but really nothing at all like that. I mean, I'm not trying to get into the Hegelian dialectic of left and right, but I will mention that they're
that's
pointing
good. But are we recording here now, or is it?
yes, I turned it back on.
Oh, perfect. Because that's what you said is brilliant. Because I think there's a lot about Hegelian dialectic, no? Right? What you just said, no? The thesis, antithesis, and then bring the people into the desired direction, no? Into a control state, which basically where we're heading right now. I mean, in the worldwide, you know, we're gonna have this. This is not, of course, not so far advanced like in the movie, but we can see the same thing. A fake virus pushing a lot of new normal shit, you know, and now pushing for, you know, forced vaccination, for, you know, I mean, it's literally enforced, because the same thing with the mask, right? They tell you it's just a mask, but you need the mask to go to the office, you need the mask to go to the shopping, you need the mask to do that. Just replace the mask with the vaccination, will be the same thing. You're pushed out of society if you don't accept that shit. And same with the mark of the beast, it comes, no? The shipping, you know, it's from the over the skin surveillance to under the skin surveillance. It's literally all coming. Social credit rating, all this bullshit, control state, China style, communist agenda is pushed worldwide over our heads. And this is what the movie is about. I mean, I see this exactly like you said. It's exactly, I just wanted to add, I didn't know if you had this on the recording, when we talked about the prophets, just to add this and finish it up with, a prophet that prophesies and speaks prophecy, and then that prophecy doesn't happen, is a false prophet. Period.
Yes.
And no more should listen to them. And a prophet that doesn't see the true truth and shows all the time a globe being impacted by something, an asteroid or whatever the case might be, you know, is blind in a true sense of the word. Period. Don't listen to those guys. Don't waste your time. It's a waste of time. Those dead men walking. They serve somebody else. They are not from the creator. Not inspired at all. Dead men walking. That's my last word on this false prophets. Period.
I want to say one more thing real quick about the movie too, is that these test subjects, they were testing their immune systems, and it turns out that V has either a mutated immune system naturally, or they mutated it. I think they did by testing this virus on people. They were trying to, so what to me that speaks is the changing and altering of our DNA, possibly the third strand, and he comes out more powerful, right? That's one of the lies that they want us to believe, is when they ascend or accept the vaccine or accept the third strand, you'll have superpowers. It'll defeat your cancer. It'll defeat your autoimmune problems. You'll be able to live forever. You might even be able to float and fly around because it'll be Orm gold. So anyway, I wanted to point that out, that he is a mutated immune system, which made him a stronger person, able to withstand more hits and punch harder and do supernatural things.
Yeah, like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Did we mention this poster at all? This strength through unity?
Not yet.
So yeah, so we see this a lot today with all the mask BS. You know, we're in this together. You know, strength through unity. You know, we're all in this together, guys. Yeah, so that's funny. And then that's a mask at the bottom of the poster. Looks like a mask at the bottom with that satanic double cross.
It looks like it, that this is the symbol of their Minutemen or whatever they called them. This double cross, which is very interesting, a double cross, right? And then this looks like wings. There might be another picture of that, but I don't, it kind of looks like a mask now that you say it. And here he is doing this thing, but it kind of looks like wings and a double cross.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a lot to this movie. I had written so much down. This is a good one. It had a lot of stuff in it.
I mean, in terms of symbolism, yeah, if you look in the unity, you know, the two unities, this is also when you look at code, you know, you have the two towers falling, and then they become one freedom tower, right? The 2-for-1 idea, you know, the idea of making 2 to 1. You know, you have the two unities, but unity is one. You get the idea? So it's all this things come out. This 9/11 code is the 3-3, the 6-6-6, the 2-for-1 idea, two towers falling, becoming one. You know, This is all over the place in this movie. It's all Masonic code. Period. Yeah?
Well, to double cross is to stab somebody in the back to betray them.
But that
The actual literal to double cross somebody is to stab them in the back or to betray them. But whatever else meaning we could get from it could be, there's probably other stuff, but the literal
Good
meaning
stuff.
of to double cross somebody is to betray them.
good stuff. Yeah, good thinking.
And then I think earlier today, Jason was saying that the X is also kind of satanic, or a sign of Lucifer, which is a cross. You can almost call this a cross, sideways cross. And then he's also got three. He's got 3 knives on one side, 3 knives on the other. So you call that 33, or call that 6.
And black and white, black and red, black and white and red, black and white and red, all over the place. The red
Masonic.
rose that he carries.
But it's interesting, eh? He asks his people that sign up. Remember, he pushed the number 2 of the state control. He pushed him to become part of his team. No? And the superhero of the movie is pushing him with a knife and say, "Come on, you become part of my team." And then if you sign up, you give me the X, right? Mark with the X. No, the X is purely satanic symbol. I just showed it to make it you. Sao Paulo is not a beautiful city. It's like a concrete jungle, like New York, just more like isn't New York on steroids, kind of, yeah. To picture it, and basically you have in the center of Sao Paulo, you have a bridge in the shape of a cross. Period. That city is mine. Right? That's the city of Satan, right? And that's the same here. The guy is a purely satanic character. The way when he is kind of reborn after he survived his treatments, coming out of the fire. You picture that
Yeah,
scene.
that's right.
You can show it here. Yeah, he comes out of the fire like a superhero. Man. That's Lucifer.
Yeah.
That's Lucifer.
And he also, his V makes devil horns. If you can see on this one, the V makes devil horns. And it includes how we're all part of the ritual, where there's a quote, and I can't remember who said it because I wrote the time down, not who said it, but maybe the old lady, but she said, somebody said, "I realize that we are all part of it, all trapped by it," which we're part of the ritual with this predictive programming. To have us get just to know, people say, "Oh, Satan just wants us to know what he's doing before he does it." He has to do that. That's what he has to do. But also it includes us in their ritual to tell us, not just that they have to tell us, but it's part of the ritual. And they said it, I realized that we're all part of it, and all trapped by it. So I wanted to point out that quote because we are part of the ritual by being included in knowledge that they give us, sort of. Look at that red, white, and black. Red, white, and black.
Go back to that picture that you just showed here. Purely satanic. Look. Yeah. Let's just digest this one. Look at that V thing there in the devil's circle, yeah, with the blood coming out. Give me a break. That's a satanic ritual right there. And then you have the X, right? He does with the two knives here. His allegiance to Lucifer. That guy is not a hero.
Yeah, this is kind of similar to the Osiris rising symbol too. Even though it's the knife and the rose, or 2 knives, this is still a crossing of the art, like a crossing over the chest. Just obvious nod.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very Masonic. It's very Masonic pose, that last one with the knife. The Masons are about the knife. If you talk, knife, dagger through the heart or whatnot. Yeah, that's the heart and the rose is very Masonic with the face shield.
And as you said rightly, Aaron, that's not a good guy, right? He becomes the beast himself. That's what we had this, I think, in one of your Discord chats. Yeah, we talked about the idea. It comes from a German philosopher, but he can speak sometimes still the truth. Nietzsche, the gay guy, Masonic guy, whatever. Yeah? But his quote that you may become what you fight eventually, right? If you look too long into the abyss will look back to you. If you look too long in the pit will look back to you, and you will become that monster that you want to fight. And this is the idea here. He's a monster. Period. He even says it sometimes. I became a monster. So he is a monster. He's not a hero. Yeah, and then really That picture there. Come on, give me a break. Huh? Coming right
his
out of
super-
like
coming out with his superhuman powers.
He's coming right off the fire inferno, the hell. That's where it coming from. Correct?
Yep, it's definitely of the phoenix rising, which is clearly not from God. That you know, and I hear these Christian songs say that too. I'm rising from the ashes, and I'm like, oh, you guys don't know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Stop singing these words.
Yeah. Well,
The next shows, and we have other movies we would like to talk about. There's Matrix 4 coming out, probably also a good one to talk a bit about Matrix and recap a bit what has been shown there to us. Yeah, also a lot of clues. So I would like to do that. Remind maybe we close it, call it a day, and we schedule around 2 or 3.
Right, so I'll just say, well, we're at the end of our part 1, and we'll come back and continue this for however many more parts we can do in the future. We look forward to doing more of this and getting into Boondock Saints. So
thank you that helped me.
I thank you both for coming and doing this. So let's do this again soon.
And I will promise next time we will come without hangover. Last night we had a meeting with local chapter again. Sorry for that. We drank too much. We both fall asleep on the couch of my friend's house. So that says everything about we're a bit slow today. So
at least you got sleep.
It was a pleasure.
All right.
Erin. Thanks for having us. Okay. Thank you.
Have a blessed day.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.